My Overprotective Neighbor. A slow burn medical romance prologue. During the pandemic, my mom abandoned me to fly to California with her best friend to help with her newborn granddaughter. She left me in the care of my neighbor, the doctor next door. She called it supervision, but he acted like he was my parole officer. One night, I pretended to be drunk and he kissed me. I caught him red-handed with my eyes wide open. His handsome face flushed crimson, and that look was dangerously intoxicating. Late that Thursday night, Chloe and I had been living it up at Rooftop Bar, polishing off a pitcher of craft beer and 2 rounds of tequila shots. Feeling buzzed and invincible, we were planning to hit the midnight showing of some indie film neither of us really cared about. But the moment we stepped outside into the cool autumn air, a hand closed around my arm. Mia. Time to go home. I whipped around to find Dr. Ethan Harrison standing there in dark jeans and a fitted Henley, looking annoyingly composed for someone who'd clearly been waiting outside a bar past midnight. "What are you doing here? Are you tracking me?" I protested, yanking my arm back. "Your parents asked me to keep an eye on you." My buzz evaporated instantly. So much for freedom. Here's the situation. My mother, being the ride-or-die best friend she is, flew to the Bay Area during the height of COVID to help Mrs. Harrison with her daughter Peyton's postpartum recovery. Never mind the pandemic. Never mind travel restrictions. My mom was going. Our families had lived in adjacent townhouses in suburban Maryland for over 2 decades. The Harrisons and Morrisons were basically one dysfunctional extended family at this point. With both moms gone, my dad and Mr. Harrison, suddenly free from adult supervision, had taken off in a rented RV for some midlife crisis road trip across the Southwest. I'd thought I'd finally be free to live my life, but Ethan was apparently waiting in the wings to play warden. Talk about a downgrade. His dark eyes swept over Chloe and me with clinical assessment. "I'll drive you both home." Yeah, we should probably head back," Chloe agreed immediately, the traitor. "But I'm not ready to go home," I whined. "Then have fun at your apartment," Chloe suggested cheerfully. "My place is too small for a proper party." "I know, then go hang out with Dr. Harrison here. Be good." She shoved me toward Ethan and practically sprinted to her Uber. That woman whose best friend was she supposed to be anyway? I turned to glare at Ethan. "What do you think of Chloe?" His expression immediately shuddered. "Why?" I grinned mischievously. "Want me to set you two up?" Ethan's jaw tightened. "You think I need your help with my love life? Does that mean you're going to pursue Chloe yourself? Is less than #0. 3 is greater than get in the car, Mia." He had zero patience, grabbing my jacket sleeve and steering me toward his black Audi without giving me a chance to argue. The moment we got inside my apartment, I tried to shoo Ethan back to his place next door. "It's late. Thanks for the ride. You can go now." Ethan crossed his arms, leaning against my doorframe. "You're awfully eager to get rid of me. Planning to sneak out once I'm gone?" "Busted." He smirked. "Guess I'm sleeping on your couch tonight." We're alone here, Ethan. A man and a woman. In an apartment. Don't you think that's inappropriate?" He snorted. "Don't try that with me. Ethan, don't use that tone." He kicked off his shoes and settled onto my couch like he owned the place. "Every time you say my name like that, you're scheming something." "I really won't go out tonight," I protested. "I just wanted to tell you I'm 24 years old. I want to date. Can you please stop treating me like I'm still in middle school?" Something sharp flashed in Ethan's eyes. "Who caught your attention?" I sat down beside him, genuinely curious what he'd say. "What do you think of Dr. Nathan Chen from cardiology?" Ethan's expression went flat. Not impressed. "Why not?" He leaned back, turned to look at me with an infuriatingly casual expression and said, "He has terrible breath." I gritted my teeth. That's slander. If Nathan had bad breath, wouldn't I have noticed working in the same hospital? "Your chronic allergies are pretty bad. You should get that checked," Ethan replied smoothly. "You're making things up. Both Nathan and I are perfectly healthy." Maybe I was imagining it, but Ethan's jaw seemed to tighten. I had no idea what I'd said wrong. He suddenly stood up. "Go shower and get to bed. If I catch you sneaking out tonight, you can forget about even the little freedom you have left." "Ethan, I'm 24, not 14. Take it up with your parents." This was torture. No freedom, no dating life, and my overprotective neighbor controlling my every move. Completely suffocating. Freedom had to be fought for. I was going to strategize, manipulate, and scheme my way to independence. The next morning at Washington Memorial Hospital, I cornered Chloe in the nurse's break room and insisted she pursue Ethan. After all, Ethan was the golden boy of our infectious disease department, brilliant, devastatingly handsome, and the youngest attending physician on staff at only 29. Our hospital's policy allowed doctors with PhDs to skip the fellowship track and be promoted directly to attending. So Ethan was basically the hospital's poster child for overachievement. You want me to chase Ethan? Chloe looked genuinely shocked. I had no idea why she seemed so surprised. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Why don't you chase him? Chloe asked, stirring her coffee. Are you kidding? I nearly choked on my granola bar. Ethan and I are basically siblings. His sister just had a baby and our moms are in California together helping out. You understand that kind of relationship, right? Chloe shook her head seriously. I understand. Which is exactly why you pursuing him would make more sense. That would be morally wrong. Your last name is Morrison. His is Harrison. What's morally wrong about it? He's like my big brother. He watched me grow up. Don't you get it? I rolled my eyes. Do you just not like Ethan? Chloe countered. What's so great about him? I thought for a moment. Ethan is disciplined, focused, and brilliant. He graduated top of his class at Johns Hopkins, has his MD, PhD, and has an incredible career ahead of him. Plus, he's gorgeous. You two would make a perfect power couple. If you got together, you'd be my sister-in-law. Wouldn't that be amazing? Chloe snorted into her coffee. If he's so great, why don't you keep him for yourself? Because I like Dr. Chen. My best friend was driving me insane. Can't we have some best friend telepathy here? Is less than #0. 3 is greater than. Chloe set down her mug with a decisive thunk. You're randomly trying to set me up with a guy without asking if I even like him or if Dr. Harrison is interested in anyone. And you call that telepathy? He doesn't have anyone he likes, I said with certainty. You're wrong. I can tell he likes someone. 2. Chloe gave me a long look. Go ask him yourself. Because of Chloe's comment, I actually went to find Ethan during his office hours. His office in the infectious disease wing was predictably immaculate medical journals stacked precisely on his desk, diplomas lining the walls, and that faint smell of coffee and antiseptic that seemed to follow him everywhere. I knocked on his open door. Do you have someone you like? Ethan looked up from his laptop, brow furrowing like I'd just asked him to explain quantum physics. He didn't say a word. I suddenly felt certain Chloe was right. You really do have someone you like? Why are you asking? His tone was clipped, impatient. Who's the lucky girl? Ethan frowned. Lucky? Okay, I'll admit calling her that was laying it on thick, but I genuinely thought Chloe and Ethan would be perfect together. So who is it? A doctor or a nurse? But Ethan wouldn't answer. His jaw just kept tightening. Just tell me. I was losing patience. Mia, what exactly are you trying to accomplish here? Is less than #0. 3 is greater than matchmaking, obviously. I'm formally telling you I want to set you up with Chloe. Thanks but no thanks. Ethan stood and physically guided me toward his door. Don't ever try to play matchmaker for me again. He shut the door in my face, and I was left standing in the hallway like an idiot. Annoyed, I pulled out my phone and texted him 2 emojis, one showing a person getting knocked down and a pig face. After sending it, I felt marginally better. That afternoon at the hospital-wide staff meeting, I spotted Nathan sitting 3 rows ahead of me in the auditorium. Chloe and I were slouched in the back, and I rested my chin on my hands, gazing at Nathan's profile with what I'm sure was an embarrassingly dreamy expression. Chloe nudged me and whispered, "Ethan's watching you." Huh? I blinked at her. She tilted her head meaningfully toward the back of the room. I turned around and sure enough, 3 rows behind us, Ethan sat with his arms crossed, staring in our direction with an unreadable expression. I couldn't tell if he was looking at me or Chloe. But his unwavering gaze was kind of unsettling. Chloe murmured, "Same angle you're watching Nathan, Ethan's watching you, both 3 rows apart. Coincidence or intentional?" What do you mean? Figure it out yourself. Chloe straightened up to listen to the hospital director's speech about the new COVID protocols. I tried to focus too. Cases were spiking again with new variants appearing sporadically. Our hospital was on high alert. Currently, general departments had weekly PCR testing, priority departments twice weekly, and the COVID unit every other day. With community transmission increasing, our hospital had entered surge status, ready to deploy staff to the isolation unit at any moment. After the director's brief speech, the meeting adjourned. I deliberately waited for Nathan, walking alongside him as we filed out. "Doctor." "Chen." "Mia, you need something?" Nathan glanced at me with mild confusion. "I've got a patient consult in 10 minutes. I was stunned. Was he really that busy? I followed reluctantly, trying to figure out how to extend the conversation. Ethan suddenly appeared, smoothly inserting himself between Nathan and me. I completely lost my chance. Once we left the auditorium, I complained to Chloe. "Was Ethan doing that on purpose?" Chloe nodded seriously. "He's blocking you from Nathan." I gasped. "Why would he do that? What's in it for him?" Chloe looked at me and sighed. "You're completely oblivious." I was totally confused. Why was I oblivious? What was oblivious about me? Lost in thought, I wandered past the hospital coffee cart, planning to grab my usual afternoon latte. But I was so absorbed in my thoughts that I crashed directly into someone's chest. Sorry. I apologized awkwardly, stepping back. A deep voice came from above. "What were you thinking about so hard?" "Ethan." I looked up into those penetrating dark eyes. Before I could respond, he handed me a coffee, my exact order, oat milk latte with an extra shot. "How did you know I was getting coffee?" He gave me a look that clearly said, "Did you really think anything gets past me?" Remembering this morning's matchmaking disaster, I pulled him aside, away from the crowded hallway. "Do you really have someone you like?" Yes, he admitted openly this time. I was surprised by his honesty. If you like someone, you should understand how attraction works. It's chemistry. Biology. You can't control it. So you definitely shouldn't prevent me from pursuing Dr. Chen. Got it? He looked at me intently. Your chemistry should not be directed at Dr. Chen. I not. Because I won't allow it. Who do you think you are? I scoffed. He glared at me and I immediately walked away before he could respond. Ethan was acting really strange. The moment my shift ended, he called and drove me to Whole Foods. I kept glancing at his stern profile as he drove. He wouldn't speak, and his whole demeanor screamed, "Stay away." I was getting impatient. "Ethan, are we grocery shopping or attending a funeral?" is less than #0. 3 is greater than, "If you can't say anything productive, stay quiet." Why are you being so moody? You tell me. How am I supposed to know what you're thinking? You're oblivious, he muttered. That made me angry, so I put on my sweetest voice. Ethan. If he was going to call me oblivious, I'd use that tone he hated. He looked at me and actually smiled, a real one that reached his eyes. Seeing his rare smile, I pouted. 1 minute you're grumpy, the next you're cheerful. You're impossible. Look at Dr. Chen, he's pleasant all the time. Who wouldn't like that? The moment I mentioned Nathan, Ethan's expression darkened like a storm cloud rolling in. If Dr. Chen is so perfect, go marry him then. I immediately looked down, feeling my cheeks warm. Well, I am thinking about it. Who doesn't want someone easygoing? When I looked up, I met Ethan's intense gaze. He was staring at me like I'd personally offended him. I think it's inappropriate to casually talk about marrying someone you barely know, he said coldly. I disagreed. You should feel privileged, I'm telling you. Since you're so confident, why don't you confess to him? I'll drive you to his place right now. Do you dare? His challenge provoked me. Why wouldn't I dare? Actually confess. Honestly, I wasn't mentally prepared for that. Was it too late to back out? Looking at Ethan's cold expression, I decided I couldn't let him think I was all talk. I'd do it. Once in the car, Ethan's dark mood made the air feel suffocating. I had no idea where this intensity came from. His dad was perpetually cheerful and his mom was gentle and warm. Yet Ethan was constantly brooding. Exhausting. Freedom came through courage. Today, after successfully confessing, I'd never have to deal with Ethan's control again. I could finally date like a normal 24-year-old. But when we arrived at Nathan's apartment complex in Silver Spring, I saw him getting out of a car with a slender woman. They were carrying takeout bags, laughing together, and walking hand in hand toward the building entrance. I froze. Nathan had a girlfriend. Looking at Ethan's face, he'd obviously known. And hadn't told me. I glared at him, fury rising. You knew, didn't you? Yes. He didn't even have the decency to lie. I felt utterly humiliated, staring at him with wide eyes. Ethan said bluntly, "Call him. Tell him to come down. You can confess your feelings. Didn't you see he has a girlfriend? Doesn't matter. You could try to break them up. I think you're perfectly capable of being the other woman if you want something badly enough. Is that really what you think of me is less than #0? 3 is greater than that I have such terrible morals? So, are you still going to confess?" Absolutely not. He had a girlfriend. If I confessed now, I'd be morally bankrupt. In that moment, I felt like a complete fool. Utterly humiliated. On the drive home, I wanted to cry. My eyes burned, I didn't know if from shame or anger. I just felt awful, emotions churning. Just as tears were about to fall, a travel pack of tissues landed on my lap. I jumped, startled, and the tears retreated. "What?" "Giving you tissues." "Don't cry in my car," Ethan said flatly. His words made me angrier, and suddenly I couldn't cry anymore. I could only glare. "So I'm worth less than your car's upholstery?" He glanced at me, and his mouth twitched into an almost smile. "If you can't cry, don't force it. Save your energy for helping with dinner. Do you have any empathy?" I protested. "I just got my heart broken." "It never started." "How is that heartbreak?" "Isn't it?" "I know," Ethan said seriously. I pouted and mumbled. I finally liked someone, and he has a girlfriend. There are plenty of single men at the hospital. You just don't notice them. Like who? He glanced out the window and said nothing. I snorted. You don't have a girlfriend either, but you're not my type. His jaw tightened again and his hands gripped the steering wheel harder. I was exasperated. He got moody at the drop of a hat. What was his problem? That night I ate way too much. Ethan's cooking was incredible. He'd made lemon herb chicken, roasted vegetables, and homemade focaccia. Since I'd just experienced public humiliation, I channeled all my feelings into appetite. Full and satisfied, I collapsed on the couch, watching Ethan roll up his sleeves as he cleaned my kitchen, washed dishes, and scrubbed the stove. I suddenly realized he hadn't made me help at all. Had his conscience finally kicked in? He wasn't so bad after all, my neighbor who'd watched me grow up. Despite his impossible personality, he had Mr. and Mrs. Harrison's genes. He was fundamentally kind. Thinking this made me feel better, and I hummed along to Netflix. Then my mom video called. I immediately straightened up and answered, but Mrs. Harrison's face appeared on screen instead. Mia, sweetie. Oh, Mrs. Harrison. I thought it was my mom. I know she's making dinner. She asked me to chat with you first. How's everyone? How are Peyton and the baby? Everyone's wonderful. Your mom has been such a huge help. Anyway, how are you two doing? Is Ethan taking good care of you? I was about to say yes, but on impulse I decided to complain. Mrs. Harrison, Ethan's been wonderful in every way except one, he's way too controlling. I have no freedom. Could you please ask him to ease up? I saw Mrs. Harrison about to respond when my mom grabbed the phone and launched into a lecture. Mia, you and Ethan both work during the day. You're not under 24-hour surveillance. How have you lost your freedom? Her words left me speechless. Typical. Fine, whatever you say. My mom had always favored Ethan. Ethan and Peyton had been my role models growing up. Both were academic superstars who made everything look effortless. Unfortunately, I was aggressively average. I barely scraped into medical school, and only because Ethan tutored me intensively for a year before the MCAT. Being overshadowed by brilliant kids your whole life was exhausting. My mom constantly told me to learn from the Harrisons, never considering how mediocre her own genes might be. Seeing my defeated expression, Ethan emerged from the kitchen and took the phone, rescuing me. Mrs. Morrison, Mia has been very responsible. I'll admit I've been pretty strict with her, but I'm planning to give her more freedom soon. I looked at Ethan in surprise. He glanced back at me, and our eyes met. I quickly looked away, puzzled. Why was Ethan suddenly defending me? Strange. Everything felt strange lately. After he chatted with both moms for a while, reassuring them I'd been perfectly behaved, he hung up. I looked at him suspiciously. Were you really talking about me? And you're actually giving me freedom? He looked at me steadily. What else should I have said? That you're trying to avoid me so you can date? Or that you were planning to confess to Nathan even though he has a girlfriend? I froze, my face flushing. What's wrong with wanting to date? Don't you? And stop bringing up Nathan, that chapter is closed. I do want to date, he said quietly. Then go for it. By the way, if you don't like Chloe, who do you like? Ethan's gaze locked onto mine, staying there for a long, charged moment. Just tell me. Don't be so mysterious. Are you embarrassed? Seeing his expression, I figured he must be shy and couldn't help teasing him. I never thought you'd be shy about anything. He didn't smile. Instead, he suddenly asked, Mia, what do I lack compared to Dr. Chen? My teasing smile froze on my face. I suddenly understood something, staring at Ethan in shock. I felt like something in my chest had cracked and was slowly spreading, leaving me momentarily stunned. Right then, Ethan's phone rang, breaking the charged silence. He answered, his voice shifting to professional mode instantly. I'll pack immediately and head to the COVID unit. I snapped back to reality. After he hung up, I asked, where are you going? 2 new critical COVID cases came in, including a patient with severe cardiac complications. I need to go now. He paused, looking at me with unusual intensity. Mia, Never mind. I should be able to come back safely. My eyes suddenly burned. Why would you say it like that? His sudden deployment was unexpected. It's nothing. He smiled and ruffed my hair with unprecedented gentleness. You'll be on your own now. No one to boss you around. Take care of yourself. I thought he'd have more instructions, warnings, rules, but he only said that before heading to his apartment to pack. Minutes later, he stood at my door with his duffel bag. Through the peephole, I could see him with his head down, seemingly hesitating about whether to say goodbye. Finally, he gave up and turned toward the elevator. He wasn't even going to say goodbye? I panicked and yanked the door open. He looked surprised, then smiled soft and genuine. What's wrong? Are you really going to the COVID unit? He nodded, looking resigned. The hospital talked to me about this weeks ago, Mia. But this was all so sudden. I'd thought COVID unit rotations were something that happened to other doctors. I never imagined it would be him. I didn't know what came over me. Even though he'd been controlling my life for weeks, I didn't want him to go. Can't someone else go? His eyes suddenly lit up with something I couldn't identify. What? You don't want me to leave? I immediately backpedaled. Not exactly. Just be careful, okay? He looked at me thoughtfully, then nodded and walked away. But the flash of disappointment in his eyes felt like a weight pressing on my chest. The elevator doors closed before I came to my senses and returned to my empty apartment. Suddenly, overwhelming sadness washed over me, and I cried. I actually cried hard. For half an hour, I alternated between sobbing and silent tears, until my eyes were swollen and my head ached. My phone rang. Chloe. I quickly answered. What's up? Whoa, that voice sounds like you've been crying. What happened? Ethan's working the COVID unit and Nathan has a girlfriend, I reported miserably. Chloe sighed. So which one made you cry, Ethan leaving or Nathan being taken? I was confused. Honestly, I was asking myself the same question. Chloe continued gently. Ask yourself, why did you really cry? Obviously because of Nathan, I said without conviction. I think you can't stand being apart from Ethan. You just haven't figured out your own feelings yet. Everyone can see that he's into you, everyone except you. That seemed right. On Ethan's first day away, Chloe and I had lunch at the hospital cafeteria. Chloe said bluntly, "Are you emotionally blind or just in denial? Is less than #0. 3# is greater than, can you stop being so harsh?" How did I miss that Ethan likes me? And that's exactly why I'm saying you're not just oblivious but also in complete denial. Just then, Nathan walked over with his tray and sat at the table next to ours. What are you two debating so loudly? Is something wrong with Mia's vision? I froze, then quickly said, yeah, a bit nearsighted. You should get glasses, Nathan said seriously. And increase your vitamin A intake, carrots, sweet potatoes. Good for eye health. Ha! Chloe burst out laughing. Nathan looked confused. Did I say something wrong? No. Doctor. Chen is absolutely right, Chloe said, shaking her head with amusement. I kept my head down, not finding anything funny. It was strange now that Nathan was sitting right in front of me. I felt completely calm, as if all my previous excitement had never existed. Was I really this fickle? Did I move on this quickly? Now that I knew he had a girlfriend, I immediately stopped being interested. I was glad I'd never actually confessed. Otherwise, I'd definitely regret it. I had an epiphany Nathan clearly wasn't my person. Later, Chloe asked, "How do you feel? Any butterflies seeing Nathan again?" I honestly shook my head. Just awkwardness and relief. Do you miss Ethan? Chloe was determined to make me face reality. I asked myself, did I miss Ethan? The answer was killing me. That night, when I got home to find both apartments empty, my chest felt hollow. I'd longed for freedom to go out and have fun, but now that I had the chance, I didn't even want to leave my couch. Ethan hadn't sent any messages or called. I had no idea how he was doing. Finally, 3 days later, unable to stand it anymore, I texted him, "Are you okay?" He replied 3 hours later, "I'm fine." You? Looking at the timestamp 1 a.m., I realized he'd just finished his shift. I clutched my phone and messaged back, "I'm good too." His response came quickly. Been in full PPE all day, couldn't reply earlier. Just got out. Sleep early, Mia. Me, okay, take care. Him, good night, Mia. After setting down my phone, I thought for a moment and sent another message, "Stay safe." He replied, "Will do." I bit my lip. Somehow, my mood improved considerably. During Ethan's absence, I stuck to my routine: work, home, repeat. Because of rising COVID cases, I stopped socializing entirely. Days became boring and monotonous. My mom called to lecture me about staying home and being safe. I shot back, "You and Dad are the ones running around. One of you risking infection abroad, the other on some crazy road trip. You're the reckless ones, not me." For the first time ever, my mom was speechless. "Mia, don't hit people where it hurts. Give your mother some dignity. Dignity is something you earn yourself, that's what you always told me." Indus, fine. Just listen to Ethan. Ethan's working the COVID unit. He won't be back anytime soon. I grinned. Sorry, Mom, your supervision plan failed. My mom looked genuinely shocked. Ethan's in the COVID unit? Yeah. Didn't you know? He didn't say anything. My mom looked confused. That's strange. He promised us he'd look after you. I'm an adult with a job. I don't need anyone looking after me. But the COVID unit is dangerous. You guys traveled across the country during a pandemic. The COVID unit is way safer than what you did. My mom's tone softened. Mia, do you really dislike having Ethan around that much? I paused. Anyway, behave yourself. Where Ethan is now is genuinely dangerous. Check in on him more often, okay? He's a grown, experienced infectious disease doctor. What does he need me checking on him for? I said impatiently and hung up. I suddenly felt suspicious about the timing of both sets of parents leaving. Their departures seemed too coordinated to be coincidental. I immediately texted Ethan, "Don't you think it's weird that your parents and mine all left at the same time?" The message went unanswered until late that night. He wrote, "What's weird about it?" Me, nothing weird, I guess. You left too anyway. Him, if I hadn't left, would it seem less weird? I paused before asking, "So you think it's weird too?" Him, haha. What kind of answer was that? Me, have you noticed you're being extra nice to me since you left? Him, really? Would you rather I go back to being strict? Me, no. I think we're in an absence makes the heart grow fonder situation. Him, so you got your wish. Get some rest. I could clearly sense his unhappiness. I didn't know if it was because of my comment or because he was exhausted. After that conversation for nearly a week, Ethan didn't reply to any of my messages. I thought he was angry with me. Then at work one day, I suddenly heard that one of our colleagues in the COVID unit might have been exposed. Panic seized me, and I immediately called Ethan. The phone rang without answer. I called 7 times, nothing. Finally, that evening, he called back. His voice sounded exhausted and urgently concerned. Mia, what happened? Why so many calls? Are you okay? I realized my voice was shaking. They said someone from our hospital in the COVID unit might be infected. No, just a regular cold, Ethan said. Wearing full PPE for 12-hour shifts, you get run down when you finally take it off. He's feeling under the weather but tested negative. I could barely believe it. I get tested every single day. He laughed softly. Did you call because you were worried I got infected? Just be careful, I said, not in the mood for his teasing. Drink lots of water, get enough sleep. Ethan agreed. I'll try. I said impulsively. Next rotation, I'm volunteering for the COVID unit too. Don't you dare. Ethan's voice rose sharply. 12-hour shifts in full PPE, your stamina can't handle it. Don't underestimate me, I said defiantly. Be good, Mia. His tone turned incredibly gentle. I can handle this. You just stay in your department and work safely, okay? You being this gentle is genuinely unsettling. He sighed. Fine, but don't do anything reckless. Promise? Okay. After hanging up, I wondered, was that gentle man really Ethan? The next day, devastating news came from the COVID unit. An elderly patient had passed away. My heart ached for everyone involved. That evening, Ethan called, his emotions clearly raw. Mia, I said goodbye to Mrs. Patterson today. What? From COVID? Complications, Ethan said quietly. Technically, COVID wasn't the primary cause. But she had so many underlying conditions: heart failure, severe hypertension, diabetes. When she was admitted, she just couldn't pull through. I could hear the exhaustion and grief in his voice. I tried to change the subject. When are you coming back? Praoyin, the unit hasn't had new admissions in the past few days. Current patients are gradually improving. Should be soon. Despite saying this, Ethan and his team ended up in the COVID unit for 6 weeks. After that, they quarantined for another 2 weeks at a hotel. When they finally returned to the main hospital, there was a huge welcome ceremony at the entrance. I rushed to greet him, but got pushed to the outer edge of the crowd by hospital administrators and news cameras. Ethan, I called out. Suddenly, I saw him helping a slender female doctor out of the shuttle van, smiling at her with incredible warmth. I'd never seen Ethan smile at anyone like that. In that instant, an indescribable feeling washed over me. I'd been about to call out to him again, but now I couldn't say a word. They chatted about something, and Ethan nodded attentively. They were clearly comfortable together. It seemed like Ethan and this female doctor had developed a strong bond during their time in the COVID unit. They went inside for a staff commendation ceremony with the hospital director. I slunk back to my department. We never made eye contact. From start to finish, he never saw me in the crowd. That evening after work, I didn't rush home. By the time Ethan called asking where I was, I realized it was already dark. I was still at my desk organizing patient charts and avoiding reality. Still at the hospital. You're home? Yeah. Come back now. I drove home slowly, and from a distance, I could see Ethan's tall figure standing downstairs near our building. Then a woman approached him. Ethan looked surprised and they started talking, standing close together under the streetlight. I recognized her, the female doctor from this afternoon's ceremony. It was late autumn and she wore a cream sweater under a burgundy coat. Her thick, dark hair fell past her shoulders, and her delicate features and warm smile made her look effortlessly elegant. Standing next to Ethan, 4 words popped into my head: a perfect match. The smile that had been forming on my face quickly faded. I'd thought he might have feelings for me, that maybe Chloe was right. But now it seemed I'd been delusional. This was the type of woman Ethan liked: accomplished, beautiful, mature. So I'd spent the past 2 months fooling myself. I took a deep breath and quickly adjusted my expression to neutral. Then I walked toward them with forced cheerfulness. Hey, Ethan. Both Ethan and the woman visibly startled and turned to look at me. Up close, I felt even more inferior. She was stunning, and her every gesture exuded sophisticated grace. A true intellectual beauty. I smiled brightly at her too. Hello. I'm Mia Morrison, Ethan's neighbor. Hello. I'm Dr. Hannah Park, Ethan's partner in the COVID unit. Oh, I see. No wonder you two have such great chemistry working together in crisis situations. We've actually been colleagues for several years, so we work well together, Hannah said with a warm smile. I nodded. Doctor. Park is beautiful and professionally excellent with such great teamwork with Ethan. That's wonderful. From just one look, I could tell Hannah had romantic feelings for Ethan. I just didn't know what Ethan thought. I turned to look at him and noticed he wasn't showing any warmth. Instead, his expression had grown noticeably colder. I had no idea what I'd done wrong. Then I worried I'd interrupted something important. Panicked, I quickly said, I'll head upstairs. Don't want to interrupt. Have a good evening. I practically fled. Once in the elevator, I realized my reaction looked like I was running away. 20 minutes later, Ethan knocked on my door. I opened it with a forced smile. So, Doctor, Park is the woman you were interested in, right? The one you wouldn't tell me about? Ethan frowned at me, his eyes complicated. I blinked. What's wrong? Nothing to be embarrassed about. I'm not going to tease you. Ethan stared at me for several seconds, looking exhausted. He nodded slowly. Hannah came to tell me she has feelings for me tonight. My heart clenched painfully, but I kept smiling. I thought my smile looked genuine without any cracks showing. At least it felt convincing. Well, congratulations. You survived the COVID unit and found yourself a girlfriend in the process. He stared at me unblinkingly. That's all you have to say? What else is there? Disappointment flashed clearly in his eyes. Get some rest. I'm heading back. And he actually went back to his apartment. I watched the door close and felt my smile crumble. I picked up my phone and ordered takeout. While waiting the 30 minutes for delivery, I showered and changed into pajamas. When the food arrived, I ate alone in silence before calling Chloe. What's up? Why are you calling so late? Chloe asked. I didn't mince words. I got my heart broken again. Who did you fall for now? I've only liked 2 people total. First was Nathan, he has a girlfriend. Now it's Ethan, and he has a girlfriend too. What? Ethan? Wait, are you sure you like him? Yeah, I said quietly. Chloe, I'm really heartbroken this time. I want to cry but can't. Wait, who's Ethan dating? I had no idea he was interested in anyone. His colleague from the COVID unit, I said. Hannah Park. Did he tell you himself? Yeah. I felt terrible. I'm coming over. I can't stay in this apartment for another second. Okay, come over. I changed clothes, grabbed my overnight bag, and headed to Chloe's apartment across town. Late that night, I cried in her arms for a long time. My phone rang. Seeing it was Ethan, I didn't answer. I had Chloe take the call. Chloe simply told him I was at her place and that he shouldn't worry, then hung up. This doesn't make sense, Mia. Ethan's still worried about you. If he didn't care, why would he notice you left in the middle of the night? Neighborly responsibility, I said. You get it? What responsibility? If he didn't care about you specifically, neighbors don't have any obligation to check in at midnight. Responsibility from growing up together. Happy now? Are ridiculous. Let me tell you, if he didn't have feelings for you, he wouldn't call looking for you. I rubbed my temples. Stop. I can't handle being delusional again. Why don't you just ask Ethan directly how he feels? I still have some dignity. Leave this to me. I guarantee I can figure out his true feelings. The next day at work, I didn't see Ethan at the hospital. Later, I learned he and the other COVID unit staff were off the hospital, had given them a week of mandatory leave. After work, I went straight to Chloe's and turned off my phone as she instructed. Chloe opened a bottle of wine and poured me a glass. I shook my head. I'm not drinking. We're healthcare professionals, we can't be irresponsible. Just this once and never again, Chloe said. How else are you going to test Ethan's feelings if you don't seem vulnerable? Why do I need to test him? I shook my head firmly. I'm done with romance. If I can't handle relationships, at least I can focus on my career. Otherwise, I'm just pathetic. Fair enough. Chloe didn't push me. Instead, she accidentally spilled the entire glass of wine on my shirt. Immediately, the smell of alcohol permeated the air. My shirt was soaked. What are you doing? You can pretend to be drunk, Chloe said matter-of-factly. Watch, Ethan will definitely call me. I don't believe it. Want to bet? If he calls, you pretend to be drunk and see what he does. Sure enough, once I reeked of wine, Ethan called Chloe's phone since mine was off. Chloe answered seriously on speakerphone. Mia's drunk at my place. Don't worry, doctor. Harrison. Go spend time with your girlfriend. Over the speaker came Ethan's deep voice. Who said I have a girlfriend? Mia did. She said your girlfriend is Hannah Park. Ethan seemed to pause. Hannah and I are just colleagues. Oh, really? Well, doctor. Harrison, you still shouldn't worry about Mia. The way you've been acting is kind of confusing for her, you know? How is it confusing? Come on, doctor. Harrison. Mia is 24, not a teenager anymore. If you don't have romantic feelings for her, stop being so controlling and involved in her life. It sends mixed signals, okay? Ethan said quietly, I understand. I'll be there in 30 minutes to take her home. After hanging up, Chloe winked at me. Success. Success how? I was confused. What succeeded? Chloe rolled her eyes. You're so dense. I basically spelled it out for Ethan. If he keeps interfering in your life, it's because he has feelings for you. He knows exactly what I meant. Now just pretend to be drunk. If you can't pull off drunk, at least pretend to be asleep. I'll pretend to sleep. That's safer. Closing my eyes seemed more believable than trying to act drunk. True to his word, Ethan arrived exactly 30 minutes later. I immediately pretended to be passed out on Chloe's couch. He carried me to his car and Chloe walked us downstairs, giving Ethan quite an earful. Her tone wasn't friendly, and her words weren't kind, basically warning Ethan not to play games with people's feelings. Strangely, Ethan didn't argue back or defend himself. I was surprised. This wasn't like him. He usually would have shut down criticism immediately. Not arguing with Chloe was highly unusual. Ethan placed me in the passenger seat, reclined it so I was semi-lying down, and carefully buckled my seatbelt before closing the door and walking around to the driver's side. While he was out of my line of sight, I peeked at him through half-open eyes. He wore a black wool coat tonight, tall and lean, the simple dark color emphasizing his masculine presence. His features were sharp and unreadable in profile. I had to admit, Ethan had a devastatingly handsome face, though his reserved demeanor could be intimidating. When he opened the car door, I quickly closed my eyes and continued my performance. 20 minutes later, we were home. As he placed me on my bed, he gently patted my face, trying to wake me. Mia? Mia? I ignored him, remembering I was supposed to be drunk. So I mumbled incoherently, stop. I want more wine. Ethan sighed deep and resigned. He sat on the edge of my bed without leaving. I didn't dare move, keeping my eyes closed and waiting for him to go. But he just wouldn't leave. If he stayed much longer, he'd definitely realize I was faking. Just when I was about to give up and open my eyes, Ethan's voice came low and filled with helpless resignation. Mia, your heart isn't with me. Anything I say would just add pressure you don't want. But I can't let you go either. My heart pounded wildly. I could hardly believe Ethan was saying this. Did he really have feelings for me? What did he see in me? Almost instantly, countless questions flooded my mind. The next second, he suddenly leaned down, moving closer. I could feel a shadow falling over me, his breath warm against my face. I froze completely, not daring to move or breathe. Then Ethan kissed me. Thunder seemed to explode in my brain, like lightning and storm clouds colliding. I was so shocked that I couldn't keep up the act. My eyes flew open to meet his deep, startled gaze. He clearly froze, his handsome face flushing completely red. That look was somehow devastatingly attractive. My heart raced even faster. Maybe because I was so flustered, or maybe because I didn't know what else to do, I reached up and wrapped my arms around his neck. I figured if someone was going to take advantage like this, I couldn't just let it happen, I had to fight back. And then I really did kiss Ethan back. That clean, crisp taste and scent was just like him, and somehow, without realizing when, I'd memorized this specific combination that belonged uniquely to Ethan. After my bold counterattack, I rolled over and continued pretending to sleep. Ethan seemed to laugh softly, a low, pleased sound escaping. After sitting for a while, he finally left. I heard my door close and immediately jumped up to use the bathroom. But when I opened my bedroom door, my apartment door opened again. Ethan and I locked eyes across the room. Instantly, my face burned with the embarrassment and awkwardness of being caught red-handed. Ethan looked at me leisurely, clearly amused. Awake? Ethan's tall, striking figure stood just inside my apartment door, his dark eyes gleaming with unmistakable amusement. I stared at him blankly, temporarily forgetting how to react. It felt like we'd been caught in this staring contest forever. Then I suddenly remembered I was supposed to be drunk. I'd completely blown my cover. Embarrassment and indignation surged through me. You left on purpose just to catch me." Ethan looked genuinely entertained. If I'd actually left, wouldn't I have missed this revealing scene? I felt all the blood in my body rush to my face, ready to burst through my skin. Ethan gazed at me, his voice dropping lower. "Mia, can you explain how you managed to smell overwhelmingly like alcohol but have absolutely no wine taste in your mouth?" I knew it. This awkward confrontation was always inevitable. He'd done it deliberately, left and come back to test me. Not backing down, I shot back. "Can you explain how you know I don't have wine taste in my mouth?" I'll admit that was pretty provocative. I thought Ethan wouldn't respond directly, but he smiled slow and dangerous. And then he walked toward me with clear intent. Panic flooded through me. "Ethan." I blurted out his name, hoping to see his reaction. He walked right up to me, his voice even huskier. "Mia, sometimes certain forms of address act as a catalyst." I was confused. "What catalyst?" He continued, stepping closer. "Especially when you say my name like that. It makes people impulsive." "Impulse is dangerous," I reminded him nervously, backing up slightly. He looked down at me from his superior height, making me stumble over my words. I really need to use the bathroom." Ethan's eyes half closed, the corner of his mouth curving up even more. "What's so funny?" I muttered, trying to sidestep him toward the bathroom. But he caught my wrist gently. I panicked. "What are you doing?" "I seriously need to go." "You haven't answered my question yet," Ethan said calmly. "Answer, and I'll let you go immediately." "What question?" "About you faking being drunk." Busted anyway, I had nothing to hide. I nodded. "I faked it to avoid awkwardness." "Why did you have to call me out?" "So when you kissed me just now, you were fully conscious and aware." Annoyed at being cornered, I snapped, "So what if I was?" "Be my girlfriend," Ethan said simply. I was stunned. Wasn't this moving too fast? I quickly pulled away from him. "Is less than #0. 3 is greater than, let me use the bathroom first." I sat on the closed toilet lid for 30 minutes, fully clothed, staring at the wall. Ethan's patience apparently lasted exactly 30 minutes. At the 31-minute mark, he knocked on the bathroom door. His voice came through clearly. "Mia, do you really think hiding from me now will work?" I stood up abruptly and looked at myself in the mirror. I definitely didn't look drunk, just panicked and confused. Since Ethan had already laid it out there, explicitly asked me to be his girlfriend, I had nothing to hide from anymore. So I gathered my courage and yanked the door open. Ethan seemed genuinely surprised that after hiding for half an hour like a coward, I'd suddenly emerged when he knocked. "Made up your mind." He didn't seem tense anymore, he'd completely transformed into someone confident and calm. I looked at him directly. "Why do you want me to be your girlfriend? Or rather, why me specifically?" "Why did you kiss me just now?" He countered. "Didn't you kiss me first?" I didn't hold back. "I kissed you back as payback. Tit for tat." Really?" He suddenly moved closer and kissed me again quickly, twice. I was completely dazed, staring at him with wide eyes. "What are you doing?" "You can get revenge again." "Why aren't you using your tit-for-tat strategy this time?" he challenged. Ethan smiled genuinely. "Go take a shower. Wash off that wine smell. And stop listening to Chloe's schemes." "What's wrong with Chloe?" I didn't like him criticizing my best friend. Ethan seemed to realize he'd misspoken and quickly clarified. "I didn't mean to disparage your friend. I just think if you have something on your mind, you can talk to me directly." "I'm fine." Axed, then, "Be my girlfriend?" Why?" Ethan's eyes held emotions I couldn't fully decipher, deep and carefully restrained. After a long moment, he said quietly, "I have feelings for you." "Do you really need me to spell out everything?" My eyes widened in shock, staring at him. My heartbeat seemed to stop in that instant. I felt like I was in some alternate reality. I'd always thought I liked Nathan, but when I found out he had a girlfriend, I wasn't that devastated. What hurt most, what made me actually cry, was when Ethan was away in the COVID unit. But we were so familiar with each other, had known each other our entire lives, the thought of dating felt surreal and awkward. Now he was saying he had feelings for me, and my heart, after that moment of stillness, was suddenly racing. Had I always been this oblivious about my own feelings? I had to admit, standing here looking at him now, I felt completely captivated by his presence. I wanted him. After that thought crystallized, I still tried to maintain some composure. Stop joking around. Ethan's handsome face remained serious, his dark eyes like the night sky, unfathomably deep. Without another word, he gently took my hand and pulled me toward the living room couch. We talked until 3 in the morning. Ethan told me he'd had feelings for me since I was in college, since I'd called him panicking about organic chemistry, and he'd driven 2 hours to tutor me through finals week. He told me he'd volunteered for the COVID unit partly to give me space, to see if distance would change how I felt. He told me Hannah had confessed her feelings, and he'd turned her down immediately because his heart had been occupied for years. By someone completely oblivious, apparently. So you've been suffering in silence this whole time? I asked, tucking my legs under me on the couch. Suffering is a strong word, Ethan said, but he smiled slightly. More like, strategically waiting for the right moment. And the right moment was when you finally stopped seeing me as just your annoying neighbor. I bit my lip, feeling guilty. I'm sorry I was so dense. You weren't dense. You just weren't ready. His fingers traced patterns on the back of my hand. I could wait. What if I'd actually gotten together with Nathan? His jaw tightened slightly. Then I would have stepped back. Your happiness matters more than my feelings, is less than #0. 3 is greater than. That admission made my chest ache. Ethan. But I'm glad it didn't come to that, he said, pulling me closer. Because I'm selfish enough to want you for myself. We sat in comfortable silence for a while, and I realized something. Our parents definitely set this up. Ethan laughed. Obviously. My mom and yours have been scheming since we were teenagers. And you knew. I suspected. But I wasn't going to pressure you into anything. I shook my head in disbelief. This is insane. We were manipulated. Or, Ethan said thoughtfully, they just gave us the opportunity to figure out what we both wanted. I had to admit, he had a point. Early the next morning, I woke up on my couch, covered with a blanket I didn't remember getting. Ethan was gone, but there was a note on my coffee table. Went home to change. Pick you up for breakfast at 9. I smiled, clutching the note like a teenager with a crush. Which apparently I now was. The next few weeks were surreal. Dating Ethan was nothing like I'd imagined. He wasn't controlling anymore, he was attentive. He didn't boss me around, he checked in. We kept our relationship quiet at the hospital initially, but somehow Chloe knew immediately. You're glowing, she said flatly over lunch one day. Did you and Ethan finally figure your shit out? I nearly choked on my salad. Is it that obvious? Mia, you've been smiling at your phone for 20 minutes. Yes, it's obvious. I couldn't even deny it. Ethan had been texting me terrible medical puns all morning, and I'd been giggling like an idiot. I'm happy for you, Chloe said sincerely. Really? You two make sense together. Do we? I was still processing everything. You've been orbiting each other for years. This was inevitable. Maybe she was right. That evening, Ethan cooked dinner at his place, a real elaborate meal with multiple courses that made my takeout habit look pathetic. When did you learn to cook like this? I asked, watching him plate perfectly seared scallops. Medical school. Stress relief. He smiled. Plus, I knew someday I'd want to impress someone. Mission accomplished, I admitted. After dinner, we sat on his balcony with wine, looking out over the neighborhood where we'd both grown up. Do you ever regret waiting so long? I asked quietly. Ethan considered this. No, because now you're ready. Before you would have said yes out of obligation or confusion. Now you're choosing me because you want to. He was right. A year ago, even 6 months ago, I wouldn't have been ready for this. I'm glad you waited, I said, leaning into him. Me too. 3 months later, both sets of parents returned home looking suspiciously pleased with themselves. My mom hugged me at the airport and immediately asked, So? Anything new to tell us? I glanced at Ethan, who was helping his dad with luggage. He caught my eye and smiled. Maybe, I said vaguely. I knew it. My mom squealed, pulling Mrs. Harrison into the celebration. You two are shameless schemers, I told them, but I was smiling. We prefer strategic matchmakers, Mrs. Harrison said primly. That evening we had a welcome home dinner at the Harrisons' place. Peyton was there with her baby. My dad was showing Mr. Harrison photos from their road trip, and everything felt warmly chaotic. Under the table, Ethan's hand found mine. I squeezed back. After dinner, we walked back to our building together, and Ethan pulled me aside in the hallway between our apartments. I have something for you, he said, reaching into his pocket. Ethan, we've only been officially together for 3 months. Relax, it's not a ring. He pulled out a key. It's a key to my place. I want you to have it. I stared at the key, touched. This is a big step. I know. But I want you to know you're always welcome. That this is your space too if you want it to be. I took the key, feeling its weight in my palm. Thank you. Plus, he added with a grin, this way you can't accuse me of being controlling. You have full access now. I laughed and kissed him right there in the hallway. Epilogue 1 year later. The proposal happened on a random Tuesday. We were at the grocery store, arguing about whether we needed more pasta. We absolutely did not, when Ethan suddenly stopped in the middle of the aisle. Mia Morrison, he said seriously. Ethan Harrison, I replied, confused. He got down on one knee, right there between the pasta and canned goods, and pulled out a small velvet box. I've known you my entire life. I've loved you for most of it. Will you marry me? I stared at him, vaguely aware that other shoppers were stopping to watch. Are you seriously proposing in the pasta aisle? I asked. Is that a no? It's a, you're ridiculous. Ridiculously in love with you, he said, grinning. So? I pulled him to his feet and kissed him. Yes, you absolute disaster of a romantic. Yes. The ring was perfect, not too flashy, just right for my hands. And when I looked at the price tag later, because of course I looked, I noticed the total $13,145.20. It took me a moment to decipher 1314520. I called him immediately. Did you deliberately choose a ring that cost exactly those numbers? Maybe, he said, sounding pleased with himself. You're such a nerd. You're nerd, he corrected. Forever, I agreed. The end.